Aloha Kako. Today, we will be reviewing 3 different grafting methods for cacao in Hawaii: the side veneer graft, single node graft, and the top wedge graft. Before discussing the different methods of grafting, let's go over some basic terminology that will be used throughout this video. The scion, commonly referred to as budwood, is the section of a branch that is grafted onto another plant. The rootstock is the plant onto which another plant, often of a different variety, is grafted. The materials you will need for grafting include a spray bottle of 70% isopropyl alcohol, a grafting knife, clippers, grafting rubbers, parafilm, and some plant labels to keep track of when the graft was made. Before you begin grafting, it is important that you properly sanitize your tools. Spray your grafting knife and clippers with 70% isopropyl alcohol and dry them on a clean towel. Sanitize your tools between each graft to avoid the possibility of spreading disease. It is important to select healthy and vigorous rootstock to ensure the long-term success of your grafted cacao plant. Rootstocks, which are grown from seed, are typically grafted 4 to 6 months after being planted, or until the diameter of the stalk is about the width of a pencil. Budwood can be collected from the field or in a greenhouse. Select a branch that matches the diameter of your rootstock or is slightly narrower. The branch must also have mature leaves, and the buds, which are located just above the petiole, should be slightly swollen. Cut the branch 3 to 6 nodes down from the tip and clip the leaves from the branch. Put the budwood in a plastic bag and transport it to the grafting area as quickly as possible to minimize water loss. The first graft we are demonstrating is the side veneer graft, which can be successfully done all year round. Initially, prepare your rootstock by clipping off the lower leaves, just so you have enough room to work. Oftentimes, the rootstock will be growing at a slight curve. If this is the case, put your graft on the side opposite the curve, so that the scion will grow straight up. Next, top the plant, and make your first cut just above the cotyledon line and going at a slight angle about an inch down. Move the blade back and forth like a seesaw to avoid slipping. Then, prepare your budwood. First, clip off the petioles, being careful not to damage the buds. Then, wrap the budwood in parafilm, leaving about 2 inches at the bottom so you have room to make your cut. Starting just above the node, make a beveled cut, trying to keep it as even as possible. Make a small cut on the opposite side. Now, fit the budwood into the rootstock, being careful to match the cambium tissue between rootstock and scion. Once the budwood is in place, use your grafting rubber to secure it onto the rootstock. Keep an even pressure as you wrap, and check to make sure that the cambium tissue is still matching. Since the graft union is relatively long, use a second rubber to finish it off. For extra measure, wrap the graft union in parafilm to seal it. Next, we'll discuss the single node graft. In Hawaii, this graft can be successfully done year-round and is a good method when making large numbers of grafts since the budwood is so small. Just as before, collect your budwood, remove the leaves, and prepare your rootstock. This cut is very similar to the side veneer, although you can make it a little bit shorter. Using your budwood as a reference, measure the appropriate length, matching the length of your budwood to the cut in the rootstock. Make a beveled cut on one side, and a smaller cut on the opposite side. Then, using your clippers, cut the budwood to just above the beveled cut, leaving the petiole as a handle. Insert the budwood into the rootstock, matching the cambium tissue on at least one side. Clip off the handle, and then wrap in parafilm. A grafting rubber is not needed for this particular graft since the union is so small. Our final method is the top wedge graft, which is sometimes referred to and is similar to a cleft graft. The top wedge graft is most successful when done in late spring to summer, when the ambient temperature is higher and there is less rain. Collect budwood with at least 3 to 4 nodes, and then cut the leaves off. Following the same steps as shown previously, cut your budwood at an angle so that the entire length of the cut is about 1.5 inches. Prepare your rootstock by topping it about 6 to 8 inches above the base, making a clean horizontal cut. Be sure to allow some foliage to remain below the cut. Measuring about 1/4 inch in width, seesaw the blade straight down to a depth of 1.5 inches. Then, slip your budwood into the rootstock so that the cambium tissues line up, and wrap the union using a grafting rubber, finishing it off with parafilm. Wrap the union as well as the entire piece of budwood in parafilm to protect it from moisture loss. After completion of a graft, it should be stored out of direct sunlight and wind. Keeping them in a greenhouse with 30% shade is sufficient until the plants become more mature. Water about once per week. If your grafts are successful, this is what the side veneer should look like after about 2 months of growth, and then after about 3 months. And here is an example of a top wedge graft after 2 years. Here is a picture of the single node graft at about 3 weeks, and then again at 3 months. Notice how the buds easily emerge through the parafilm. Also note how the scion is tied to the rootstock for support. This allows the scion to grow straight and upright. Once the graft is about 2 months old, it is important to remove the grafting rubber from the graft union. The parafilm can be left on without causing any harm to the plant, but can be removed once the plant has matured and grown sufficient foliage. When the leaves that first emerged from the scion have matured and hardened off, the rootstock can be cut back. Also, be sure to remove any new shoots that emerge from the rootstock as they appear. If you let these shoots grow too long, it may be possible to confuse them with the scion. Mahalo nui loa, and happy grafting!